And welcome back to Loyalty Discussions with White Label Loyalty. I'm super excited for our conversation today as I'm joined by Thomas Hill, founder and director of HyperFinity. So Thomas, could you just kick us off by introducing yourself to our audience and telling us about HyperFinity's mission?
Yeah, hi everyone. We at HyperFinity, we help retailers and brands leverage data to make more profitable decisions through AI and decision intelligence. I guess our mission is to put the power of data in the hands of decision makers. So a lot of AI solutions struggle to be productionized and drive value. And that's because they often sit within centralized data science teams where coding is really prevalent, or IT struggle to get them into production due to conflicting priorities, which all IT teams and people that work with IT teams were fully aware of. So our mission really is to remove all those barriers, remove those coding barriers, remove those IT barriers, and enable people to quickly access data, decision intelligence, and AI through our platform. And through that, what we do is we help retailers with decisions. So marketing and media optimization, pricing optimization, merchandising and supply are what comes out of that. So yeah, we work with lots of clients across retail and similar sectors. So Costa Coffee is one of our clients. We work with those on their loyalty program, and also supporting into other areas of the business. Other clients like Hotel Chocolat, again looking at how they can leverage loyalty to drive value from their consumers, and then other sort of general merchandise clients like DFS, Toolstation, Card Factory, or other retailers that we've worked with recently.
I'd love to start by kind of understanding the retail landscape today. So could you give us a bit of an overview of the biggest challenges and topics that retailers are facing at the moment?
Yeah, I can tell you the biggest challenges that we're seeing and that we're working on. So I think cost of living crisis that we're currently experiencing in the UK means that retailers are really fighting and battling to win share of income. I think spending declines across fashion, things like that, is becoming really tricky. Digital media, paid search, Meta, Google, where people are investing a lot of money, is becoming really a key battleground, and it's becoming more expensive to win in those markets. And I think that that's one real key challenge because it coincides with third-party cookie deprecation as well. And that's a big topic hitting this year and a big topic that people are working through. So it's critical that people are taking control of their first-party data. So we'll talk a lot about first-party data now in order to compete with the likes of, I'll mention them probably a fair bit during this conversation, but Shein, who are doing a lot in that space, diversifying how you spend across digital media, but also how you target people in that space with the right products. And people really need to be thinking about that right now because it's getting harder and harder in those channels, and people need to be doing it more and more intelligently. So that's one. I think another one that we're seeing quite a lot is, and everyone is seeing, so supply chain challenges and cost price increases, and a lot of retailers are having to flow that through, but do it in a way which, especially for value based retailers, do it in a way that doesn't hit their value credentials. So pricing is a major topic for us, and data can be really powerful in helping understand where you've got discretionary items. So it's okay to flow a few price increases through, but where value really matters to customers. So you can make sure that you protect that in an inflationary market and get that balance right. So you're taking in and you're dealing with your cost price increases, but you're still doing it in a way that delivers value to the customer. And then a couple probably that's like less relevant to us, but it's definitely going on. So continued evolution of the high street, consolidation of that. I think hybrid retail is being talked about as a route for traditional offline retailers to protect their position. So offline retailers very much got the power of flexible payment options. So the likes of Next, who are obviously key in this space, but flexible payment options, delivery options, and loyalty programs within that, which they can compete with data-rich e-tailers that are doing that across digital media channels. I think there's definitely a move to being more hybrid from that high street perspective. And then just one I've read about a lot recently, and I think it's a topic that I think data is going to play an interesting role in, which is theft and shrink. So it definitely feels like there is a growing problem, certainly on the high street, but across retail of theft. And it's made the news a lot recently about how retailers can manage that. So I think there'll be a lot of data understanding where it's happening, where it's causing a problem. Camera technology we can use to identify it in the moment in real time, But I guess there's still the challenge of, well, how do you actually stop it? There's lots of talk around people just brazenly going, well, what are you going to do about it? Because the police aren't getting involved. So sounds a bit depressing, actually, to finish up on. But I think that's definitely something that is going on a lot at the minute and that retailers battling with. And then throughout the year, I think sustainability is going to be absolutely key, as it has been for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And that's going to be an ongoing topic. It's massively talked about, just from a global warming perspective, but also just in terms of corporate social responsibility and how people are perceived, and environmental credentials are critical and are making the news a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned sustainability actually. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about how younger consumers are really choosing, like, voting with their wallet essentially. So whereas maybe older generations wouldn't be so sensitive when it comes to sustainability, younger consumers are really saying, no, you have one opportunity, and if I'm not happy with your sustainability initiative, I'm not going to be your customer. So there's a lot of pressure on businesses now, right, to really make sure they're doing the most that they can in that space.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think they're adopting it more as well. My mum makes all of my conversations like things like podcasts and this, but my mum's now 70, mid-70s, something like that. And if she complains about woke one more time to me on the phone, then I'll cry. But I always come back with that's your point of view that you're not bothered about. But the reality is, a lot of the younger generations, this matters, and sustainability matters. And let's be honest, when you look at the environment and you look at what's happening, it matters. And so everyone doing something is important. And yeah, I definitely see that in terms of younger generations and their adoption of sustainable products, reusable, upcycling, recycling. That is definitely something within retail that's growing, especially within fashion. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
So looking forward into the rest of 2023 and rapidly approaching 2024, what would you say are the key trends that you're seeing are developing in the retail space?
Key trends, I think, well, what's making the most noise right now, that is for sure, is Gen AI everywhere. But again, within retail, and every boardroom is asking for it. What they're asking for, I think, is less clear. And I think it's making a lot of noise, but it's yet to really have a big impact on retail. And the reason for that is it's really great on unstructured data, text-based data. So it's probably going to have a good role in sort of automating marketing, creative, and things like customer experience, so chatbots and things like that. It's also in our data world, it's really great for quickly kind of shortcutting code creation and creating sort of content, which is brilliant. But what it's not great for is structured data currently, so numerical data, and that drives a lot of retail decisioning. So understanding how much stock I've got, what my current sales are, what's driving my performance. I think we're working on solutions actually in this space. Gen AI will have a role there, but it's absolutely critical for it to work that you structure all of that data really clearly to enable the types of algorithms and models that Gen AI has to work, and so it doesn't get it wrong. So we've got a solution currently on our drivers analysis, where we understand what's driving sales performance on a weekly, monthly basis for a retailer, and adding Gen AI to that to ask it questions. So people who don't want to dive into charts, graphs, trends, lines, tables can ask a question and get an answer, both in text or a table or a chart. And that solution's there, I think, so we can demonstrate the value of that. And I think it's going to play a bigger role as we go through that. But there's still work to do, and it still requires that real strong understanding of structured data and how you need to set that up to make sure that the insight works. But Gen AI definitely within that unstructured data, marketing, creative, and in that space, I think it's going to do a lot, and it's going to disrupt a lot of people that need to be ready for that in the media world. That's one. I think, again, in our world, what we're seeing is the sort of rise of the composable CDP. So customer data platform, and sort of historically what that was is a place that just connected your customer data and enabled you to orchestrate that marketing, so on and so forth. But what's become really clear is the intelligence layer to make decisions based on customer data just doesn't exist within that. And what we're seeing is this deconstructed CDP where you've got lots of solutions that are being pinned onto that core data source, and they're orchestrating specific solutions for specific problems. So vouchering and couponing, for example, within a loyalty program, that's a specific application that would be part of a composable CDP. It might not be the whole thing, but it formed part of it. We fit into that. So our decision intelligence layer really enables you to bring AI to a CDP and AI-led decisions. So there's lots of great orchestration platforms, great ways of delivering loyalty, rules-based, sort of trigger-based. But when you get into that real AI-generated action around price decisions, assortment decisions, one-to-one personalisation, that gets harder. And having that decision intelligence platform within that tech stack and that composable CDP is definitely something that we're seeing and we've got involved in heavily. So I think they're the two areas where sort of we're seeing things and we're involved in it. Just more generally, we'll continue to see the rise, I think, in the likes of VR, AR being used. Certainly AR is really coming on in the social world. We had our work away day last Friday and we're playing darts with a load of VR on it. It just makes it so much fun in terms of trying to knock people off that you're hitting on a dartboard rather than looking at a dartboard. And when it's done really well, it works really well. So in the sort of fashion world, I know there'll be a lot of augmented reality. It's been used a lot already in terms of room placements for the likes of IKEA, but I definitely think it's going to have more of a role within fashion. And lots of retailers are now doing that, sort of trying outfits on, fitting them to what you look like in terms of your size and appearance. And we'll continue to see, I think, just operational things. Last mile delivery is big and will continue to grow. Lots of robots and things that are, in essence, autonomous and working on that, being tested. Looking forward to that kind of growing in its prevalence and sharing the high street with a load of robots walking next to me. But ultimately, I think it's massive. The cost of supply chain is one of the biggest factors in a retailer's profitability. So having that optimized, and the last mile is a really expensive part of it. Having that optimized and doing it in an autonomous way, I think we're going to see a lot of sort of technology around that space as well.
Just going back to, you mentioned generative AI. We speak to a lot of people who are really interested in using AI, but what we always tell them is that the quality of the outputs that you get from AI depends on the quality of your data inputs, right? That's almost the first step. Companies need to make sure they're getting their kind of core data strategy right before they then go into AI. What would you say to any of our listeners who are perhaps in the retail space, they're collecting a lot of data, but they're not necessarily doing anything with it? Do they then jump straight to AI to find those insights? Or like, where do you come in as a business to kind of help them on that data journey?
So don't jump straight to AI, but again, it all depends on what the challenges and the problems are. So I think the way I'd answer that is to say that you'd have an exercise to understand what the opportunity is with the data and where the biggest value is going to get created. So where AI can work really, really quickly is where you've got automated processes, such as machine. So if you're a manufacturer and you've got machines and those machines fail on a regular basis, AI can come straight in and do predictive maintenance to say, here's when we expect your machines to fail. Here's how we can make sure that they don't fail, so production doesn't drop, and the value of that is huge. Okay, that could be a reason to go straight into AI. And the reason that works, because AI is brilliant in predicting events where there are loads of inputs and sensors on machines that know exactly how that machine's supposed to be working on a constant basis, temperature, the movement, and everything with that. And then understanding the patterns as to what happens as it starts to fail, because you get failure points. So that's brilliant. If that's your problem and someone comes to us and goes, our machines are failing really, really often, let's just jump straight into AI because that's the answer. In the main, though, I'd say that most retail problems are a balance of AI and people. So people are having to execute a solution on the back of data-driven intelligence. And what that generally means is to understand what they need to help make better decisions. And that's what we call decision intelligence in the main. And that's putting the power of data in decision makers' hands. So I kind of give you a good example of that. So for pricing and pricing of products, so a buyer merchandiser will have potentially 100 products that they're looking after on a weekly basis. And what they need to do is come in on a Monday morning. They tend to look at sales reports, like how much stock have I got of that product? When do I need to sell through? Actually, I've got way too much stock. It's clogging up the warehouse. I need to do something about it. So I'll put it on sale, and you get those decisions a lot. But what lacks within that space is the decision intelligence and the data to help inform whether that's the right thing to do and how deep that sale should be. So what we do is put some intelligent KPIs in place which can help them with those decisions. So if it's an e-commerce retailer, the first thing that we can put in place is visits and conversion, in addition to price sensitivity. So we know we're overstocked. That's the first bit of data that we've got. We've got too much of this dress. The season's about to end in 3 weeks' time, and I need to clear that through because I know that at that point I'm going to be bringing new stock into the warehouse that I want to be doing into new season, spring, summer. When you've got that, you kind of go, right, well, I'll just clear it through at 50% off. But actually, what you might find is the dress has got really low visit, really high conversion, and it's not price sensitive. And so ultimately, if you reduce your price on that dress, but you don't push it up in terms of the website sort order, you'll just lose margin on that dress. It was a pointless thing to do. You'll put it in sale, and you might sell a little bit more of it. You won't clear through. You'll just lose a load of margin. And actually, it wasn't price sensitive. And if you just make it more visible, people are buying it. So when they see it, they're buying it. And those things together in a framework, talk a lot about a framework, is what decision intelligence is. And that's where I think that bridge between AI, jumping straight into AI and jumping into data-driven decision intelligence is where it's important. And that's where we'd say start. Think about what the framework is for the solution that we need to deliver. So what's the problems? Where's the value? Start there. How can the data help? Create a framework as to how you, as a merchandiser, operate today, and then you get the data to help you with that decision-making process and to help you make more informed decisions, so more data-driven, faster decisions, so make it really visual, make it easier to see, make it available to me the second I come in on a Monday morning. And then the final piece is more intelligent in terms of data-driven. So give me the intelligent KPIs, give me the data and the insight, which enables me to look at a product and see why you're making a recommendation. Price down, because it's a price-sensitive product. People are seeing it. They're not converting on it. I've got way too much stock. It's an obvious price down decision. But seeing that, but then quickly going, well, what have I done on this price of this product over the last 8 weeks? I've actually put the price up and down 6 times. It's actually bad at customer experience. If I do that again, I'm actually going to hold it because I don't want to degrade that customer trust. All of those things together are where I think that piece of AI plus the art of buying, merchandising, or marketing, whatever we're talking about in that decision-making process, comes together for decision intelligence. So I'll bring it back to the question you asked, because I've talked a lot there. The first thing to do is, where's the value in the data? What are our challenges and our opportunities to use data that's going to drive value in our business? Number one. Once you understand that, we understand what's the framework, how do we make decisions today? And when we understand that, we say, how can the data fit into that framework and help us to make those decisions more intelligent, more automated, faster, better, and we work on the solution. And that's ultimately how I think retailers should be looking at it. The problem is we get a lot of people going, can you just give us some AI? And especially like Gen AI, for what? What are we trying to achieve? Always start with the question, what are we trying to achieve? Can Gen AI help?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's such an exciting area, and you mentioned about the predictability aspect, which is what we're seeing a lot at White Label Loyalty, is companies that have invested in loyalty programs and they're collecting all of this data, they want to be able to predict things like customer churn. So the AI will go in and will be able to look at the patterns of behaviour and say, oh, I can flag these people who we think you're going to lose in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And that's when the business can go in and be like, okay, I'm going to take action. I'm going to do something to save them, whether that's some kind of promotion, some kind of personalisation effort. I think, the predictability aspect with AI is so exciting because you're able to not just, strategize for the now, but also really be in the future and make sure you're not losing out any opportunities just because you're a human and you you don't have 10 brains to be able to look for all of these patterns. I think, the predictability aspect is super
Agree. I
exciting.
think it's a really good example as well, because the problem is we're losing too many customers. How do we stop that? Right, that's where you start.
Exactly.
The answer was, well, we can predict whose behaviour is declining. But then what you need to do is, what's the strategy for those declining behaviours? So again, it's a framework, and our framework for that is generally around, when am I expected to reorder? So time to next shop. Am I a loyal? What's my loyalty? So how loyal am I? How much do I spend? And then beyond that, it's designing structures around, what's the reason for me looking like I'm going to churn. So if I'm a loyal customer that's gone beyond when I was expected to shop, and I've received bad service, i.e. too late deliveries, we then need to go and, okay, we might actually do some outbound calling to speak to that person, to offer them some money off next shop and to apologise. That could be quite a high cost to sort of keep that customer and retain them. You might have the opposite to that. So you've got a low loyal, we're looking to grow that loyalty. It's before we're expecting them to shop. It's an informed strategy. How do we just get their next best products out there, things that they might be interested in, things that are going to inspire them into their next order when they're ready for it? And that gives you a nice way to execute against the framework. So the AI still delivers here's somebody that we're expecting to churn, here's the reason, but then the framework is, well, what do we do about it? And that's the piece where it comes together. That's what decision intelligence is.
You've mentioned the term decision intelligence a few times. So just for anyone who's listening that's maybe not so familiar, could you just give us a brief overview of what it is and why it's important for retailers?
Yeah, I've kind of answered that in probably the last two questions, but put simply, what decision intelligence is to us is AI together with BI, which puts the power of data in the hands of decision makers. So AI is all of the coding, it's the modeling, it's that intelligence to say, when I use the example that we just had, here's somebody that's expected to churn. That's what the AI part is. But if you just have that, then that's information. What that then needs to do is, who's the marketeer that's going to do something about it? And what they need to understand is a visual view as to how many of those people have I got. What's the value of that? So if I put a marketing campaign into retaining my most loyal customers, that's going to drive me £1 million worth of revenue. If I put a load of marketing campaigns into retaining my mid-loyal customers that are looking like they might churn, that's 200,000 or 20,000. Very quickly I need to focus in on my most loyal customers and put a strategy and a campaign in place for them. You only get to that through BI. So that data needs to get served back to you in a visual way, which shows the marketeer where the opportunity is. And that marketeer then executes on the back of it. And this is the beauty. It's like putting data and AI in the decision maker's hands, because the marketeer is still the art in that piece. Just like a merchandiser and a trader is still the art in what to buy and where to price it, the data can help empower their decision making around how much of it to buy, and sort of what your price bands might be and where you would want to put it into sale and less. That again requires the visual data available to them so they can see what the recommendation is, why it's being recommended, and then they can use their judgment as to what they do. So I think for me, decision intelligence is very much the AI with visual BI insight, which is in the hands of decision makers. They're doing point and click and drop down. They're looking at lists of products and reasons and charts. They're not coding. And then ultimately what it's enabling them to do is it's in a framework for them so that they can make their decisions and optimize their solutions. And that's where their art will always come in and be valuable. So for me, decision intelligence is very much AI plus BI to equal DI is one of the equations that we talk about. Sounds very Pythagoras. But then it also, the key part is then the framework and the output of that recommends something to the decision maker, and then they can choose whether they go ahead with that decision or not.
Yeah, it's a great point, because I think sometimes people forget that a lot of marketers don't necessarily have a huge data analysis background. So being able to have one platform that gives them that kind of 360 view of the customer and a really deep understanding in what's going on is so valuable, because just as you said, they are the ones that are in control of the campaigns, in control of the action that they need to take once they see this data. So to really have it all in a easy to use, easy to read platform is just absolutely invaluable.
Exactly. I think, and this is where AI is great when the decision doesn't need human intervention. So, like reordering of product, like a machine can do that. It knows when product's about to run out. It's got the stock data. It's got the demand data. It can auto reorder. That might go wrong. So you might have some alerts to go, oh, we're about to order a lot of this. Is human, do you want to check that? Is it right? And I might go, yep, or no. But ultimately, a machine can do that. In the main, though, retail decisions are more nuanced, and it's certainly around what product to buy, how much of it to buy, who to market it to. I think personalisation at scale requires a lot of automation again. So that's where the AI can play its role. So as long as you've got your creative assets, you've got your customers, and you know what they're most interested in, personalisation has to be automated. Humans can't be in there creating 5,000 different variants of an email and putting their own products on them. That's got to be machine generated. But within marketing, there's a lot more nuance to just simply put in like next best product you might like. There's lots of other customer journey level personalization that still requires that marketing art to go, here's how we're going to lay down that campaign based on our knowledge of which incentives work, when they work, how much we're willing to give away, what the profitability of that is. And that still requires a lot of that the marketeers and their knowledge and understanding of how CRM works, basically.
I would really love to get your thoughts on the whole grocery retail member pricing phenomenon that we've seen in probably almost all of the major UK supermarkets at the moment. So obviously they have this like dual pricing strategy. You go into Tesco and there'll be one price for a club card member and one different price for a non-club card member. It seems that Tesco have almost completed this first kind of objective of customer acquisition, bringing a load of new customers into their club card program because it's just a no-brainer. Nobody wants to pay a premium or feel like they're paying a premium just because they are not a member. How should retailers, what can retailers do to make the most of these kind of loyalty schemes? And also, can we touch a bit on what exactly they can do with all of this data? Like, what do you think is Tesco's main objective with all of this data collection?
I mean, it's a big question, but so we'll break it down. If for me, like my views on this, quite simply are that member pricing in the way that it's currently being delivered is ultimately just the new way of brands promoting their lines within retailers. So you don't see a great deal of member-based pricing for core own brand, own label lines. And there's a reason for that. And that reason being is, I mean, Tesco have nearly got there. I think 90+% of their sales now go through Clubcard. And the whole point of that is you can't shop at Tesco without a Clubcard anymore because it costs you 10, 15% more. And at the time of cost of living crisis, no one's willing to sort of absorb that. And so you kind of have to have one. They've got that there. Now they have that saturation point, though. They can start to personalize pricing. They can start to think about, well, how do we get consumers to shop more with our brand? How do I win more of share of wallet? So I think, one, that data and the ability to think about how we can win more spend from a consumer is one of the core principles of any loyalty program. Okay, get more from our existing customers. But ultimately, what it has been used for to date really is how do we make sure we land supplier funded promos, work with the likes of Coke and the likes of Cathedral City to really go, well, your promotion is going to work harder in our stores because ultimately we're going to promote it through our member pricing structure. We're going to have big call outs. It's going to have club card price. People are going to want to buy it. And ultimately that creates the opportunity for retail media. And retail media is the final piece of that jigsaw, which is retailers can monetize that data, talk to suppliers and say, if you pay for our digital media assets, so a banner on a website, within the Clubcard app, like media, you'll see media assets everywhere for the likes of Tesco. They sell that space and they make a lot of money out of it. Why is that important? So, well, why is Clubcard important to that? So the data that you get from Clubcard then has to go back to the supplier to go, look what happened. We've analysed your promotion and you've driven a 40% increase in your brand, and you've stolen this much share from the competition during that period. You want to do more promotions with us, right? You want to give us more money within our retail media space. You get more money. And that's the flywheel that you talk about, which is more supplier-funded promo, more retail media, which enables Tesco to invest in their price, which gets more people in, which gets more people buying into those promos, offers and deals, which again creates more media revenue as well as sales for the brands. And the brands want that, right? Because what the brands want to do is have effective promos. So let me put a promotion that's going to get more people buying into my brands. I'll link it back to that final point, though, of how we can then leverage that data to think about intelligently offering customers like member-based pricing. And I think at the minute it's kind of couponing, as you'd call it in the old world. Like personalized offers, things you might like, is always the way that you want to do this. So what you don't want to do is auto reward too much. So your loyal customers are going to cost you most from a loyalty program. Yeah, what a loyalty program is ultimately is giving a percentage off, some money off to customers to reward their loyalty. So, but what you don't want to do is just give away loads and loads of money to basically reward what someone would have done anyway. And so there's got to be a careful balance of, we still want to give you and reward you for things that you do buy, but we want to also get you buying things that you didn't know you wanted, but you will enjoy. And that's where a lot of the personalization techniques really come to the fore. So people like you also liked the Netflix and the Spotify approach to personalization, collaborative filtering as it is within data. That's of great use in this space, because ultimately what it does is it inspires you. Here are things that you will really enjoy, because people like you that buy loads of products like you also like it. And then when you start offering personalized pricing into those areas, or coupons, or do you want some money off your next purchase, that can increase the basket size with me as a retailer, and it can increase my spend. So I think that's a really good example of it. And in terms of how you can use the sort of traditional methods of loyalty and sort of next best product, but fitting into that world of potential member-based pricing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that space. And the final one, though, is I think that what will never happen in this space, or it's unlikely without certain situations, is core staple value lines: milk, bread, cheese, not branded cheese, own label cheese, things that people need and want. So you've got value conscious customers that need good prices. Yeah. Then you've got people who discretionary purchases, like they want good prices, but they'll also sort of trade up, trade across, trade into other categories. What you've got to make sure is your milk is competitive with Aldi, not through Clubcard. Yeah, that's got to be anyone who, whether they've got access to Clubcard or not, can see that the milk price is good value, because that ultimately will mean I'm not in Tesco at all, I'm in Aldi, and a Clubcard matters not if I'm not in the store whatsoever. So I think there's always going to be a level of everyday pricing, everyday value pricing on those core staple lines that won't really fit into the sort of member-based pricing scheme. And I know Co-op talk a lot about sort of member-based pricing and highlight some of those lines. It's still mainly on branded products. Where it could change is where, back to churn, let's bring it back to that, where you're seeing a loyal Tesco customer starting to spend less and less with them. What they might go is, actually, we're going to discount milk. We want to bring you back. We think we're losing you to the discounters. So you're going to get a coupon or a voucher which says, here's how we can make milk cheaper for you in our stores for the next 6, 8, 12 weeks. That strategy, though, is a retained strategy. I don't think it's a sort of everybody who's got a club card gets access to that milk-based pricing. I think that's where personalised pricing might become interesting, and it'll be a good battleground. So it'll be interesting to see how it evolves.
So speaking of personalisation, are there any bad examples of how retailers use or don't use data to create personalisation?
Yeah. So I'll use Shein for this, because I talked about really favourably at the minute, and they're doing great. So I think that bad example. I'll talk about a couple. So Shein are doing it really well. Okay, so they've got loads of push recommendations through email and app, which are very much doing a great job of more of what I'd love, and things that I didn't know I'd love, and that's fantastic. But what they're not doing well, and I think this is the worst example of personalization, is not personalizing and not personalizing my comms and my channel. So from Shein's perspective, they've got like multiple emails in a day, and multiple emails in a day tend to just sit in your inbox in loads of them. It's swipe right, delete, swipe right, delete, swipe right, delete. And what needs to happen, and what needs to happen with brands like that, is very much a case of understand how much I'm engaging and how much I'm engaging with email, and then understand whether I should be getting 2 emails a day. And too many brands just collect my data and then push trade content. What products do I need to sell as a retailer today? Out it goes via email. Still way too much use of email, by the way. The world's moved on. So that is definitely one. A good example of how you can do that is, how are people engaging with email? So I might love Shein and I might open every single email every day. Okay, send me 5 a day. That's great. I'm probably 16, buying clothes every Friday and absolutely love it. And I'm at school with my friends and sort of comparing and talking about it and looking at it. But lots of people aren't like that. And if I'm opening 1 email a week, ultimately what you need to think about is, what's the 1 email you want me to open in a week? And to do that, you can think about, is it personalized? Is it actually just our strongest offers that we've got on a product perspective that week? Or is it a customer journey communication? So that churn piece, back to where we are. I think you're a lapsing customer. We want to keep you. That piece around it's personalization isn't just around loads of product. It's around what I see, where I see it, and how much of it. And for me, a bad example is, there's still way too much non-personalized over communication, certainly via email, that retailers are doing. And so Shein do a great job in some spaces, but in that one, it's also really bad at the same time. And then another example for me about bad personalization, and it's the what is it, the best personalization brand in the world, so Amazon. And Amazon are amazing, right? And you also, their product recommendations, I can't remember if they're also, you might also like, or whatever they're called, drive a massive amount of their business, which is great. So for somebody who's so great at personalization, I still have in a load of my comms Mr. Blank, Mr. Blank within an email, within the apps and what I'm using. I'm like, how can that be for somebody like guardrails? We talk a lot about guardrails in terms of personalization. You can have product recommendations which are done by collaborative filtering. People like me also like, but you should always have guardrails and rules. A simple rule which says, if my name's not populated, don't personalize my name. It's just a simple rule. Another simple rule, so things like removing potentially offensive product recommendations, such as meat to vegans. And so if you know I'm a vegan, please don't send me a load of meat products, right? If I've expressed that, or you know that, because you know from my interactions with the products that I've bought that is likely to be what I am, and we've classified about it. That doesn't need complex algorithms. That just needs a flag 1-0, and it needs a rule to say what we should and shouldn't do. And I think some people forget that those guardrails are just as important as the intelligence of the personalization engine itself. So I think that there's a couple. So bad personalization of over communication and not personalizing the level of an amount of communication that I get. And then the second one is, just getting real simple things wrong. Like don't put name personalization if you don't know my name.
Yeah, it's almost quite frustrating to feel that in 2023 these big businesses are still not quite getting it right. And like you said, it is quite simple stuff. I was speaking to a friend a couple of months ago who is Muslim and was observing Ramadan this year, who would consistently get pinged. I won't name and shame them, but it's like a juice chain on the loyalty app, consistently ping, come in for a drink today, 2 for 1. And it's a very simple thing to almost add a feature to an app for people to say, look, this is my religious practice. So the businesses can be like, okay, let's not ping them with food and drink offers while they're fasting. It's totally inappropriate. And it's those little things that end up causing huge customer frustration. And once you get a customer frustrated like that, you're going to lose them. The loyalty is gone. It's like you need to make sure customers don't just feel, they need to feel valued, and businesses really need to like make that extra effort to make sure they know enough about their customer to not cause this level of frustration, because loyalty is like, it's always like a switch. You can flick it on, you can flick it off. And yeah, with these personalization errors, it's just so quick to lose customers if you're not
Agree.
getting
And
it
I
right.
think I'll contradict myself a little bit in a second in responding to that. But temporary opt out are brilliant. So thoughtful cards. They email me saying it's Father's Day coming up. Like if you've recently lost your dad, you don't want to keep seeing reminders of Father's Day coming up. Do you want to opt out? Things like that are really good. That's a great example of personalization. Make sure that if somebody opts out, you take them out of your comms. So make sure that your operation is set up to correctly execute the guardrails. But that's a great example of it. But on the flip, what I would say is a lot of people get really, really hung up on the bad personalization recommendations, and they will always be there. Yeah, it will get it wrong, but it will get it wrong 1% of the time. And that 1% of the time, as long as it's not offensive and a PR disaster, which we've dealt with through guardrails, don't focus on that. Focus on the 99% of the time, which is driving incremental revenue, because it's fantastic recommendations. And I see a lot of businesses and retailers going like, what on earth is this recommendation in my email to me that clearly means everything's going wrong? It's like, you need to make sure you've got the reports which demonstrate actually that piece of personalization is driving a 20% increase in ROI. That one wasn't great, but the rest of them are really, really good. So I think we also need the mindset of the odd not great recommendation doesn't necessarily mean that the personalization engine isn't working as it should be.
So with changing consumer expectations, how do you advise retailers keep up?
For me, I think it comes down to 3 key principles. I always say this with data. And I think why do people choose to shop with retailers? Like, it's easier to shop with me as a retailer, number one. So seamless shopping experiences. Remember me either when I come in or when I'm on a website, one-click checkout. Think about ways of leveraging data to make it easier to shop with me than my competitor. Faster. And what do I mean by faster? So fewer clicks to find the product that I want. So that product's either brilliantly recommended to me via digital media channels, and I just see it and I go, I want that. Shein, again, great job. Or when I drop on a website, I can search and find things. For me, as supplier integration keeps happening with websites, it is getting way too hard to find product. And as soon as you're scrolling into page 2 and then page 3 of looking for men's trousers and they all look the same because I've got loads of supplier integration, I'm bored and I'm off. So faster in terms of making sure you personalize products. It's really easy to find the thing that I want and the way that I describe it. And a lot of people don't do this as well. So content management systems, imagery, and the way that you tag that imagery around how customers describe products. So we've got a lot of solutions which leverage search terms to go, here's how customers are describing those products. You've got it as a black maxi dress, size 12. But what you actually might have is it's a great dress for going out after work. So night out after work. Just in terms of things in the background and attributes that you can put against products, so they're easy to find through search channels. Like warm winter coat as opposed to just puffer jacket might be in there, or cozy. Comfortable shoes is always a good one, and often you wouldn't describe your shoes as comfortable. They'd be however you sort of putting them in, but if customers are describing as comfortable and they're searching for that, make sure it's there. And that's that faster piece. Really fast to go. Help me find what I want really, really quickly. And when I found it, by the way, deliver it as seamlessly and quickly as possible. There is a constant battle with speed of delivery, and the balance of making sure that is as fast or faster than the competition is key. Shein again put the trend a little bit there, because the final one that I'll talk about is value for money. So how do you help me make cheaper than the competition? So lots of understanding price, how I'm priced in terms of my competition. What happens when I change my prices? Where do I see more demand? And leveraging data from that perspective can really help you understand where does value really, really matter? Where are you going to drive value? Where are you going to drive conversion through changing your price? And how do I be cheaper than the competition? Put those 3 things together. Data can help in all that space. So easier to shop, curate and personalize my range with data. Yes, sort end of the endless aisle, sort order optimized to me as an individual, product recommended to me in digital media spaces. We talk about the how costly digital media is becoming, but how many times you see an advert for something you've already bought or they haven't got in your size, and having those failure states built into your digital media strategy. Here's a suppression audience. I've already bought it, or I've been to the website twice and you've not got my size. Remove them, suppress them from future campaigns. It's a great example. And that means that I'm not clicking and I'm not finding out that I can't buy it. So it's easier to find what I want. It's easier to shop. Faster, like when I'm there, show me the product that I want in as few clicks as possible with as few search terms as possible, and then make and deliver it to me. And then cheaper in terms of make sure that data's helping us price, cheaper than the competition where it really, really matters.
Before we wrap up, we like to ask all our guests this question just for fun. What's your personal favourite loyalty programme and why?
It's a personal favourite, and I think, but not necessarily the greatest rewards program. So, a bagel factory. So just by work, I go to the bagel factory for my breakfast whenever I'm in, and they massive. Why do I love it? They massively over reward. It's so engaging. Okay, so I've got points. I collect points for every bagel that I buy, but at the same time as points, I get stamps. So whenever I buy a bagel, I get a stamp for a bagel. And then what they also do is like introductory offers and gifts. So every now and again, I'll get a gift, and I'll go, great, a free bagel. That's fantastic. And then the final bit is, but then I reached a certain spend threshold. I'm clearly a loyal customer. They gave me £10 off. It's like, here's £10 within the loyalty program. Now that's brilliant. Why do I love it? Because basically they just keep giving me stuff, loads of stuff. But I think it comes back to, what does a nice rounded loyalty program look like? It rewards loyalty, but it doesn't auto reward and over reward. And I think from that perspective, they don't need the points and the stamps. So I don't need to get free bagels because I've collected so many points or I've collected so many stamps. One or the other would be enough. Introductory gifts are quite good in terms of making sure that you kind of build that loyalty, that nurture piece is really, really good. But then did I really need £10 off when I hit a threshold of spend, which was £100, by the way? So when I got to £100, I've already had a load of free bagels. They give me £10 off, it's 10%. So I love it because they just keep giving me loads of stuff. But I think there's a great example of they're over rewarding. They don't need to give that much away. I'm loyal because it's by work, and I'll come in and I'll get my bagel probably no matter what. Where they'll reward me is actually, if I'm not, I'll get it more. Yeah. And I can probably do that through stamps and the odd gift. But I guess the final bit is then how do you balance that to make sure we're not auto rewarding? That's the key question for any loyalty program. And I think that comes down to definitely give offers and promotions on products that I love and that I do buy. So when you look at things that you want to recommend to people, make sure you are including things that they do buy. Don't just always show them things that they don't buy to drive basket value, because it's not rewarding them. You're just getting them to buy things that they might not necessarily want. But then balance it with inspire me, and inspire me to try things, buy things that I didn't know I'd like. So a coffee. So what Bagel Factory haven't done is gone, would you like a coffee as well for £1? I'll probably go, yeah, I'll have a coffee for £1. But they've never done that, and I never buy coffee. So it's interesting, and I think that's a great example of why I love the loyalty program, but also where they could probably do things a little better. So that's mine. In terms of favourite, what I will say is a good, an interesting use of loyalty and rewards at the minute. And Shein, again, I'll talk about that. What they do well is that they reward things that drive conversion and loyalty of other people. So they reward posting reviews and pictures. And that is, and anyone that's worked on conversion rate optimization will know, especially with Shein, it's a long time for delivery. It's like hard work returning it. You want to know that you've got that product right. So converting, like showing people pictures of you in it and saying that you love it is going to convert people. And they've baked that into their loyalty program. So you get more points for reviews and for posting pictures. And that's great. I think that's a really cute and interesting use of it. And a good thing. What it also does, and what loyalty should engage in the fashion world, like daily is a bit OTT. Like how often do you buy from a specific retailer? It could be 2 or 3 times a year on average. But from Shein's perspective, they actually reward daily check-in. And that sort of feels a little bit OTT, but I understand the premise of it and why you want to do it. You want people to interact with the loyalty program in the app. And so in combination with personalized product and inspiring content and having a reason to visit on a daily basis, showing your friends, sharing pictures, I think that's really, again, a really clever way. Asda have got spin the wheel on theirs. So again, that's a way of, if you spend over £5, you can spin the wheel and you get a bit of gamification, you get a reward. It's a reason for engaging. So I really like that. I'm giving you a reason to engage and I'm rewarding it. And then the final one, I think it's just an interesting thing for me. So Shein do it, but there's quite a lot of laddering in loyalty programs. It's almost like a badge of honor to have reached a certain spend level. And when I reach that spend level, I get better benefits, which Shein do. So faster refunds. You could argue that everyone should get a fast refund, in my opinion, but faster refunds, no minimum spend for free delivery because you've reached a certain threshold, exclusive access to sort of sales and content. And I think that's an interesting one that we're seeing a lot more of in terms of that laddering, sort of what you're rewarding people with, not just money off, but some of the services and additional sort of things that you can have around just sort of simple money off product recommendations is interesting. So there's my favourite one. I think they're doing it quite well.